Hi, this is Stacia, and I wanted to share a game that I played at the Parma Chess Club this past Tuesday. The game took place on, December 5th of 2017, and Parma is located near Cleveland, Ohio, in the United States. I was playing Jim Halm, who had the white pieces. He's rated 1500, and I played the black pieces, rated 1522 USCF ratings. Jim opened with knight f3, and I played knight f6. So this is a Reti, and honestly, we play the same opening every single game, which I actually like. All right, and yeah, we're both playing hyper modern chess, I guess you would call it, because we're not jumping in the center. And finally, c5. So I'm taking my claim in the center with the move c5. He plays knight bd2, I played knight c6. And my knights are ideally placed on these squares. And yeah, I would actually say with the slightly better center control and the better knight placement, black's already slightly better here. h3 he plays, not very ambitious. Bishop d7, and now e4. So okay, we've had this position several times already. I played the move queen c8, so now there is a threat on the h-pawn. And Jim played rook e1. So this is funny because, yeah, he blundered his pawn, and he's done this at least 4 times. So I'm actually familiar with the lines where I win this pawn. It's kind of ridiculous. But of course, it's just a pawn. There's a lot of game left to play, so still need to play well. Knight g5 was his choice. This pretty much forces me to take here. And now king takes g2. Now, one thing I've noticed is once this occurs, you do have to watch out for ideas where white will take over the h-file and, maybe bring their rook up, bring their queen in. And so you got to watch the h-file. And he usually does bring the rook over at a minimum. All right, so in this position, I had some choices. I could play b5 and just expand on the queen side. I could play queen d7. This would connect my rooks in complete development. I went for a aggressive / not aggressive move. Queen g4. Looks like I'm attacking him, but really I'm looking for the queen trade. And I like this move because it's a tempo move on the knight, which is currently hanging. White does have some convenient responses to this, though. Jim brought his knight in, this defense. But I liked this for me because then I can play h6, and this knight doesn't really have any good squares. It's forced back to h3. Now he is he is going to come into f4, so maybe it's not that bad. But at least it wastes a couple tempos in my mind. So, all right, I played b5. So I was thinking about expanding on the queen side. He played a3, and I played a5. So my idea was I want to go for this b4 break at some point. But when I do, I wanted my pieces lined up in a way where it would give me an advantage when it opens up. Bishop d2 is what he played. This does add a defender to this b4 square. And now I made an inaccurate move, rook a to b8. So yeah, this does help me get the break, but then once it opens up, white will have the a file. So like, for example, if I, let's see, what nonsense move can I make for white? Let's just play this just for fun. If I were to do the b4 break now, I don't think it's quite that great because after this, he can actually come in. So yeah, I think my rook would be better on the a file. All right, so that being said, he played rook h1 here. So I do have to watch because he's x-raying my pawn with the rook and with the bishop. Well, the bishop is attacking it, so yeah, and if the queen comes here too, I don't know. It is pressure on the king side, so I have to be careful here. I played the move h5. Computer says it's unnecessary. I think because if he moves his rook out of the way to f4, it'll then be blocking the bishop. But I played h5, so I wouldn't have to worry about it. So not the most accurate, but this is a rapid game, you know, so I don't like problems hanging out there. I like to fix them quickly if I can. All right, so queen c1 was played. So he is threatening to invade on h6, which I don't think I care about. But queen c1 may be good because now he's really strengthened this diagonal for him, and he can bring his bishop to g5. He can come to f4. So perhaps that's a good move. I now decided it was time to retreat my queen and just defend my knight. And he played knight h4. So knight h4 is one of those moves where during the game, I didn't know if it was good or bad. Seems like he might be thinking about sacrificing here at some point. So I have to watch for that now. Although it certainly doesn't work now, but maybe it will later. All right, and I played rook f to c8. So I'm just lining my rook up with the queen. So if I do play this break, it'd be nice to have this pawn pinned. Okay, and he played f3. And now knight e5. So I get to bring my knight to a nice square. I am threatening to take this pawn. Problem is, you know, the knight's not stable here. So I'm not sure how good it really is, but I think it is better to bring the knight in. Queen f1 was now played. So noticing that I'm hitting the pawn and defending it. And now I played a break, d5. So this was actually not the right pawn break to go for. After analyzing this game with the computer, it seemed like the c4 break and the b4 breaks, and even the move a5, I'm sorry, I said 4. c5, oh, this is 4, never mind. It wanted all of these. It wanted a4, b4, and c4, all at different moments. Like right now, the computer actually calls for b4 as being very strong. And that makes sense because, you know, after something like this, my knight's not hanging here, so there is no rook a6 with tempo this time. And after like knight f2, I can take here, and now you get this in. So yeah, I can see why the b4 break is nice, but I had limited time, so I chose d5 as a break. All right, the problem with d5 is exactly what he played in the game. Bishop f4. So this is a pin. I completely missed this. Although I think it's interesting because if I can arrange it, I will have a fork on these, a pawn fork on these pieces if I can defend this square. And not only that, but it seems like my pawn breaks are pretty dangerous, and so what happens is pretty interesting. All right, so I brought my knight back to h7. This does defend my knight. He played knight g5. So I was actually happy to see that move because now I can opt to take the knight. I don't think him taking bothers me too much. Okay, and now I went for the break, b4. So here he played d4, which I expected because you want to attack the pinned piece, right? So it looks like I'm in trouble, but I actually saw that, I was scared I was in trouble. But I saw that you could play b takes c3, and if he takes the knight, I can take again, and that pawn's just out of control strong. Definitely worth a piece. computer says c takes d4 is even stronger, but okay. I played b4, he played d4, I played pawn takes here. So he decided to go ahead and take my knight. That is the best move from this point. And then I proceeded with rook takes b2 check. King g1. It's pretty much forced. And then I played d takes e4. I thought this was strong at the time because my idea is to bring my queen into the game, and I even have a check on d4. But I did miss that white actually has rook d1, and that would stop that check. And to be honest, the positions coming up are a little crazy, so I don't entirely know what's going on, to be honest. But that's why I like my silicone friend. Alright, so better was taking the knight and then playing bishop takes e5, I guess. Surprisingly. Okay. One thing about this bishop is that it is defending the queening square, so that's something to keep in mind as we proceed. So d takes e4. He played knight takes e4, and this allows queen d4 check. I was feeling pretty good about my position, and usually I don't let a piece, well, I don't sacrifice material, but I do have 3 pawns for the piece right now, and this pass pawn in return, a rook on the second rank, my queen's in the action. I was feeling really good, like maybe I'll just be able to checkmate him. So okay, he played knight f2. This was the best move. And then I played bishop takes e5. And the reason I played this is what I want to do is distract this bishop. He's guarding the queening square, and I want to make threats by playing c7, and then maybe even rook b1. I want to get my rook over too. So this is sort of my plan to control this b1 square and make threats with my pawn. So to do that, I think I need this bishop out of here. Okay, how did he respond? He played knight g2, defending the bishop. Kind of weird. Well, I wanted to eliminate it, so I did. I realized I was helping his knight get to some good squares, but okay. And now we are both getting in time pressure, so I'm actually 4 pawns up, which is kind of crazy. Although, are these guys strong or weak? I don't know. This guy's probably strong, but maybe weak. Who knows? All right. Here I played knight g5, so this is a nice concrete threat. I want to take that pawn with check. He defended with king g2, and now rook c to b8. I don't think this rook was doing anything, staring at the back of this pawn. So now he's ready to spring into action. Maybe I can double on the second rank, or maybe I can get rook b1 in at some moment. All right, so finally he plays rook d1, a good tempo move on my queen. I went to c6, and now I'm x-raying this pawn here, so I'm still going after this with ideas of e5. Queen d3, and now notice that queen d3 does guard this pawn. So now I love my move, c4. So I'm trying to distract the queen away and then play e5 and win this pawn with check and have my knight and queen, with a knight and queen that far into his position and that near his king, maybe that would be enough for checkmate. So, okay, he actually did take the pawn in the game. I got to play e5, and he played, I think, queen takes c3. So at this point, we both had under a minute, and so unfortunately, I wasn't able to reconstruct the rest of the game. But I have to say, it probably only lasted a move or two more, and he actually just drops his queen in time pressure. Like, I make a direct threat on his queen, but I was also threatening the f3 square at the same time. And he defended the f3 square and dropped his queen and then resigned. So, very interesting game. I had a lot of fun playing this. I lost my other 2 games, so I am happy that I got the last one. And I want to learn to play more dynamically with the initiative, and I feel like this was good practice for that. So what were the critical moments or things we could learn from this game? So I would say, well, one thing is, if you're white, don't ignore this threat, especially if you've done it before. All right, queen g4, I think that was fine. This is all fine. b5 is good, I like that. Yeah, and here I want to remember that a4 is a strong move. I think this does a couple things. It kind of fixes his a pawn and his b pawn, which will be a pretty permanent weakness. And the other thing it does is it frees up the a5 square for my knight, which could then come into the b3 square. So I want to remember this plan for next time. Rook h1. Yeah, h5. I actually played this due to analysis of a previous game. Yeah, and I missed the c4 break. I thought I was playing for d5. So that's the next thing I want to remember, is that c4 is a useful break, as well as b4. I also want to remember rook a to b8 was not a good move. That my rook was actually just fine on the a file. And here we go. Things get crazy. I need to watch out for alignment issues like this. I was actually shocked when he played bishop f4 and it was a pin. Not good, right? I should probably know ahead of time that that's going to be a pin. So that did surprise me. So I'll be looking for stuff like that next time. Yeah, and so this idea turned out to be very good. This piece sacrifice works. And I think it's just due to me getting really active, having a pass pawn, and I have material compensation in the form of pawns. So, okay, and things just get crazy. And for the most part, I like the way I played this. So I didn't see rook d1 early on. So that is something I want to see in the future as well. And okay, my idea to go after the f3 square, sack this pawn, and play e5, this is all good. And in the end, you know, I think he just had too much pressure on him, and that's maybe why he dropped his queen. I know I've certainly done things like that when I'm defending like crazy and sweating in time pressure. So yeah, I think this was an instructive game and a fun one. I hope that you enjoyed watching, and have a great day. Bye.